All right, strap yourselves in because today we're going deep on something that could totally change how you see the world. Artificial intelligence and geography.
Okay.
Now, you might be thinking,
Yeah.
okay, so maps data, maybe some cool satellite imagery.
Right.
But what if I told you we're going to be talking about whether the ground beneath our feet could be intelligent, like really intelligent?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're not just talking about like humans using their intelligence to understand the world.
Right.
We're exploring this idea that the territory itself might have a kind of intelligence.
Yeah.
A way of learning and adapting.
It's almost like the planet is thinking, right? To help us unpack this mind-bending concept, we've got a stack of sources that are as diverse as the landscapes themselves.
Right.
We've got academic papers on connectionism, discussions on how places relate to each other in ways that go beyond physical distance.
Okay.
We call that semantic distance.
Right.
And just for kicks, we even asked a chatbot, ChatGPT, to weigh in.
And what's remarkable is that even AI is grappling with this concept of a thinking landscape.
Yeah. So our mission today,
Right.
can cutting-edge AI help us understand our world in a completely new way? Is this territorial intelligence just a fancy phrase, or is there something much deeper going on?
To really grasp this, we need to start by thinking about how we traditionally approach geography.
Okay.
Imagine yourself back in school staring at a flat map on the wall.
Right.
That's how we've often viewed the world.
Yeah.
Kind of like living in Edwin Abbott's Flatland.
Okay.
Limited to just 2 dimensions.
Right, like those old maps that make Greenland look enormous.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a limited view.
Yeah.
But these sources point to a way out of flatland.
Okay.
Something called connectionism.
Exactly. Connectionism is a way of seeing the world as a network of interconnected elements.
Okay.
Think of it like the neurons in your brain.
Right.
Each one is connected to others. And together, they create complex patterns and processes. Connectionism allows us to see those connections and relationships in the world around us.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture.
Yeah.
But how does this relate to the territory itself being intelligent?
Well, one of the sources we're looking at is the work of Mauro Preda,
Okay.
a real pioneer in this field. He proposes thinking of the territory itself as a neural network.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
The territory has neurons.
Kind of like a giant brain.
That's wild. Help me understand this.
Think of it this way. Just like a brain has interconnected neurons that process information, the territory has interconnected elements, natural features, human settlements, infrastructure. All these elements interact and create emergent patterns that change over time.
So mountains and rivers are like neurons.
Yeah.
And the way they interact creates a kind of thinking process.
That's the idea. And just like our brains have memory, Preda suggests that the territory can also learn from events and adapt to changes.
To really get a handle on that, we decided to ask ChatGPT, can a territory have memory and intelligence?
Right.
And its response was fascinating.
The chatbot was careful not to say that territories are thinking in the same way humans do.
Okay.
But it did acknowledge that a territory can be shaped by past events.
Yeah.
Almost like a form of memory.
Right.
Think about how a forest fire can change the landscape for decades, even centuries.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like the territory remembers that fire.
Wow, that makes you look at a landscape differently, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just a static backdrop.
Right.
It's a dynamic system that's constantly learning and adapting.
And that leads us to another fascinating concept.
Okay.
Semantic distance.
All right.
It moves us beyond simply measuring distance in miles or kilometers.
Okay, walk me through this. What exactly is semantic distance?
Think about how you as a person group places together in your mind.
Okay.
You might think of New York City and London as being similar.
Yeah.
Because they're both bustling global hubs.
Right.
Even though they're thousands of miles apart.
Yeah. I can see that I'd probably group them together too, even though they're on different continents.
That's semantic distance in action. It goes beyond physical distance and considers shared features, functions, even cultural connections.
Okay.
2 cities can be physically far apart but semantically close.
So we're talking about how meaning connects places, not just their location on a map.
Precisely. And that raises a really interesting question.
Yeah.
Where do those places that seem to lack a unique identity fit into all of this? Think about airports, shopping malls, those kinds of standardized spaces that feel the same wherever you are in the world. Geographers call them non-places.
Yeah, like that feeling you get in a generic train station.
Sure.
You could be anywhere.
Right.
Do these non-places which lack a strong identity even belong in this network of meaning we've been talking about.
Right.
And what does that say about how we as humans experience space?
These are some of the questions that researchers are wrestling with right now. How do human perceptions of space and meaning interact with the physical reality of the territory?
Right.
And how can AI help us understand these complex interactions?
All right, so we've got territories acting like brains.
Yeah.
Places connected by meaning.
Uh-huh.
And these mysterious non-places.
Right.
Things are getting pretty complex.
They are.
To help us unpack it all, let's bring in a heavy hitter from the world of philosophy.
Okay.
Ludwig Wittgenstein.
All right.
Now, before you worry about getting bogged down in philosophical jargon,
Sure.
what's crucial about Wittgenstein's work is this idea.
Okay.
Words don't have inherent meaning. Their meaning comes from how we use them in different contexts. He called these contexts language games.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like how the word strike means different things in baseball versus bowling.
Exactly. And this applies to how we play with geographic space as well.
Okay.
Our actions, decisions, history, all of these things imbue places with meaning.
Right.
Think about how a seemingly ordinary park can hold deep significance for a community.
Yeah.
Because of shared memories or historical events.
It's like how a battlefield can become a memorial. The meaning of that space is transformed by what happened there.
Precisely. We're starting to see how this idea of territorial intelligence isn't just about the physical landscape,
Okay.
but also about the layers of meaning and interaction that humans bring to it.
Now, to bring all of this back down to earth, literally, Mauro Preda has actually started building a prototype of a geodeep learning machine.
Okay.
I love that name. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It does.
Tell me more about it.
It's really quite ingenious and surprisingly simple.
Okay.
It uses everyday technology, webcams, thermal cameras, and those tiny computers called Raspberry Pis to collect data about a specific area.
So it's like a little robot explorer gathering information about its surroundings.
Yeah.
What does it do with all that data?
The goal is to create a multi-dimensional network of the territory.
Okay.
The machine recognizes objects, figures out their location, and connects them based on both their physical location and their relationship to each other.
So it's building a brain for that specific location based on what it observes in the real world.
That's a great way to put it. And this is just the beginning.
Wow.
Imagine the possibilities if we could scale this up and model entire cities or even regions as learning systems.
Okay, that's officially blown my mind.
It's pretty amazing.
From 2D maps to territories as neural networks.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground already, but this is just the first leg of our journey. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into this fascinating world of geointelligence.
Welcome back to our deep dive. Last time we were talking about Mauro Preda's GeoDeep Learning Machine.
Right.
A project that hints at the incredible possibilities of geointelligence.
Yeah, it's like we're on the verge of something huge. Building a bridge between the physical world and the digital world using AI. Almost like creating a digital twin of the entire planet.
And that bridge has the potential to lead us to all sorts of new insights and applications. Imagine using AI to predict how our environment might change, managing our resources more sustainably, or even designing smarter cities. It's really exciting.
Okay, let's talk about those smarter cities. What would that look like? Are we talking flying cars and buildings that anticipate our every need, like something out of a sci-fi movie?
Well, sometimes those sci-fi ideas aren't that far off.
Right.
But beyond the flashy technology, a truly smart city would need to be built on a deep understanding of how it functions as a system.
So we're not just slapping some cool gadgets onto a city and calling it smart.
Exactly. It's about thinking of the city as a living organism with all its interconnected parts working together.
Okay.
And that's where the power of AI and these geo-deep learning machines comes in.
Right.
It can help us analyze the complex flows of people, goods, energy, and information to make a city work.
So instead of just reacting to problems after they happen, we could use AI to anticipate those problems and make smarter decisions.
Precisely. We could optimize traffic flow, make sure everyone has access to the energy they need, even improve public safety. All by using AI to model the city as a dynamic learning system.
Wow.
It's like giving the city a brain so it can better manage itself.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But all this talk about giving cities brains and treating them like living organisms, it makes you wonder, where do people fit into all of this? It's not just about data and algorithms, is it?
You're absolutely right. Ultimately, the goal of geointelligence should be to improve human lives and well-being. We need to make sure that these technologies are used ethically and in a way that benefits everyone.
Right. We don't want to just hand over the keys to the city to algorithms and call it a day. It's got to be about people, too.
Exactly. And that's where this whole concept of territorial intelligence takes on a whole new dimension. It's not just about data and algorithms. It's about understanding the complex interplay between humans and the environment.
So it's recognizing that we as humans shape the territory just as much as it shapes us?
Exactly. And that raises a really important question. If we can model the territory as a learning system, can we also model how human behavior influences that system?
Okay.
Could we use AI to understand how our choices impact the environment and then use that knowledge to make more sustainable choices?
That's a powerful idea. But it also sounds incredibly challenging. How could we even begin to model something as complex as human behavior?
It wouldn't be easy.
Yeah.
But AI is already being used to analyze vast amounts of data about human behavior, from social media trends to traffic patterns. The challenge would be to integrate that data with our understanding of the physical environment.
So it's like trying to create a model that captures not just the hardware of the territory, the mountains, rivers, cities, but also the software, the human interactions, the cultural values, the economic forces that shape how we live in that territory.
It would be a truly massive effort requiring collaboration between geographers, computer scientists, social scientists, and many others.
Wow, it sounds like a huge undertaking.
It would be.
But the potential payoff could be enormous.
Absolutely.
It sounds like we're talking about a whole new way of thinking about geography, one that embraces the incredible complexity of the world and acknowledges that everything is interconnected.
And that new way of thinking could have a profound impact. If we can understand the territory as a dynamic, intelligent system, then we can start to see ourselves as part of that system, not just as outside observers.
It's like that famous quote, "We don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children." If we can start thinking of the territory as an intelligent entity, maybe we'll be more inclined to treat it with the respect it deserves.
And perhaps we can even learn from it. Remember those non-places we were talking about earlier? The airports, shopping malls, those generic spaces. What if we could use AI to study those spaces and understand how they impact our behavior?
You mean like how being in those spaces makes us feel or how it influences our decisions? I've definitely felt that sense of disorientation in a massive airport, like I'm just a cog in a machine.
Exactly. And there's actually a growing body of research on how the built environment impacts our mood, our health, even our social interactions. Imagine if we could use AI to design spaces that promote well-being, creativity, and a sense of community.
Now we're really getting into sci-fi territory.
It is pretty futuristic.
But it's an exciting thought. If we can use AI to design smarter cities, maybe we can use it to design smarter, well, everything.
And that brings us back to Wittgenstein's games. The way we play with space, how we use it, how we move through it, how we shape it, it's constantly evolving.
Right.
And with AI, we have the potential to not just understand those games, but to design new ones. Games that lead to a more sustainable and equitable future.
Okay, so we've come a long way from thinking about geography as just maps and data. We're talking about a whole new paradigm, one that recognizes the intelligence of the territory itself and our interconnectedness with the environment.
And this paradigm shift has the potential to revolutionize not just how we understand the world, but how we live in it.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, but there's still so much more to explore. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll tackle the challenges of this new paradigm and what it all means for the future of our planet. Welcome back to our deep dive into AI and geography. We've been on quite a journey, haven't we, exploring this idea of territorial intelligence.
It has been fascinating.
Imagining cities as living organisms, and even considering how the places we inhabit might be shaping us in ways we don't fully realize.
It's been a fascinating exploration, hasn't it? And as with any powerful tool,
Right.
there are always challenges to consider.
Of course.
Especially when we're talking about something as complex as the relationship between humans and the environment.
You're right. We can't just get swept up in all the exciting possibilities without thinking about the potential downsides.
Yep.
So what are some of the challenges we need to be aware of as we venture further into this world of geointelligence?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is figuring out how to use this technology responsibly. It's like being handed a powerful new tool.
Right.
You have to be careful not to misuse it.
Yeah.
Especially when that tool involves collecting and analyzing vast amounts of data about people and places.
It makes sense. Data can be a powerful force for good, but it can also be misused, right? So how do we make sure that geointelligence is used ethically and for the benefit of everyone?
One key aspect is transparency.
Okay.
We need to be clear about what data is being collected,
Huh?
how it's being used, and who has access to it.
Right.
People have a right to know how their information is being used, especially when it comes to something as personal as their movements and interactions in the world.
Transparency is huge. It builds trust, and it helps prevent those big brother scenarios where people feel like they're constantly being watched and analyzed.
Exactly. Another crucial aspect is making sure these systems are designed and used fairly.
Okay.
We have to be very careful that these geointelligence systems don't end up reinforcing existing inequalities or biases.
Can you give me an example of how that could happen?
Imagine an AI system that's used to decide where to invest in infrastructure or public services. If that system is trained on data that reflects existing inequalities,
Right.
it could end up perpetuating those inequalities or even making them worse.
Wow.
We need to make sure these systems are designed to promote fairness and equity.
It sounds like we need to be really thoughtful about how we design these systems and what values we embed in them. It's not just about the technology itself, it's about the human choices we make in how we use it.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
We need to have a broader conversation about the kind of future we want to create with these technologies.
Yeah.
And that conversation needs to involve not just technologists, but also policymakers, community leaders, and everyday people.
So it's not just about building cool algorithms and machines, it's about using those tools to create a better world for everyone.
Exactly. And that's where this idea of territorial intelligence can be so powerful.
Right.
It encourages us to think about the environment not just as a resource to be exploited, but as a complex, interconnected system that we're a part of.
It's a shift in perspective, isn't it? From seeing ourselves as separate from nature to realizing that we're deeply intertwined with it.
And that shift in perspective can have a ripple effect on everything from how we design our cities to how we manage our resources to how we interact with each other.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From maps and data to neural networks and intelligent landscapes, that we've explored some truly mind-bending ideas. But I think what stayed with me most is this sense of interconnectedness, this idea that everything is linked in ways we're only beginning to understand.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a reminder that as we venture into this uncharted territory of AI and geography, we need to proceed with both curiosity and caution.
We need to ask the tough questions, challenge our assumptions, and make sure that these powerful tools are used to create a future where both humans and the environment can thrive.
Well said. And on that note, we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparked your curiosity and inspired you to think about the world in new ways. Remember, the future is not something that just happens to us. It's something we create together.